We're streaming here. Phil just jumped into the wrong channel. Oh my god, we're live. We live? I think we're live. Hey, welcome to the Shacknews reaction stream for GameStop's earnings, which are coming out here in the next however long it takes, right? I'm joined here by Greg Burke, who's helping me stream this. And I may be jumping into other Discord chats periodically, or just jumping into Slack to help people write headlines for what we're working on here. So yeah, we got GameStop reporting here. Checking exactly what time we should expect the numbers. Earningswhisper.com is saying we should expect the numbers to come out at 4:05. So we have about 10 minutes.
Who decides
So we thought
when they don't do a call? Because like they normally haven't done calls the last time, but like they sometimes do an earnings call instead of just release a spreadsheet. Is that like
they haven't
purpose?
done an earnings call since Ryan Cohen became president.
So it's just a personal decision. As long as they release the numbers, that's fine. They don't have to do a call.
I it's a company decision. I think it's stupid. But
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it a good decision? I guess is the question, right?
It really depends, man. I'm not I'm not a fan of it. I think that the more you can communicate with your shareholders, the better. The more honest you can be, the better. And I'm not implying that they're being dishonest, but they're awfully quiet. And I don't think everyone's like, they don't want to show their hand. I'm like, what hand? like what are we talking about here?
Yeah, I mean they're
This is
not a
a
tech
struggling.
company, right? They.
It's not like we're witnessing this it's some sort of biotech clinical trial. You know what I mean? We're talking about selling video games here,
Yeah.
selling used games, selling used hardware. Uh Everyone likes to put this guy, the CEO of GameStop, on a pedestal, or not everyone, but his sycophants do, where he can do nothing wrong. Um but yeah, the stock is running right now if you're looking at the chart, which you probably are because we have it on stream, right?
Yep. We also have a real time ticker as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean both. It's hard to read on the chart, but yeah, the chart is also giving us real-time price data. Yeah, people appear to be buying it into the close. So we're gonna see what happens here. It's not like it used to be, I'll tell you that much. The amount of people who show up for these things, a little different these days.
No more to the moon.
I mean, we're about to see, man. I think this is maybe the most interesting earnings release for this company maybe in their history. So yeah, I think we could see some fireworks in after hours. One thing I think is possible is that the company is likely going to report a profit for the quarter. Because fourth quarter is pretty good for game sales, and their fourth quarter ends in January, as opposed to Christmas quarter kind of thing. So people who get gift cards from GameStop, you can spend them in January most of the time, right?
Right.
So their quarter is set up to include all those gift card redemptions. But we pay very close attention to the video game industry, and times are tough, right? Like things are not going extremely well for game developers, but there's still been a nice trickle of releases. So we're gonna have to see what happens here, right?
Wait and see.
Markets are closed, so hold your bets. But yeah, here we go. The chart that I have on screen, by the way, is a 1 minute bar chart. So each one of these individual bars is a single minute in time. That's what the 15-minute chart looks like. That's what the daily chart looks like. That's the weekly chart. But I figured because we're looking at breaking news here, might as well just look at it from a 1 minute perspective. I am somehow finding a way to upload the weather report while I do this.
Multitask, multitask.
Or it can't. There we go. Do you think tagging location on YouTube makes any difference?
No, I mean, like, I know the subject matter does. So, like, if you're like news and politics or business or gaming, like that affects the algorithm. I don't know if
Mm,
location does. I've never actually experienced that before or used that before.
I use it on the weather report videos, but I'm not entirely sure what it does, if anything. Okay, so expectations for today. Um, we're looking at earnings, actual profit. What a strange concept. A profit of 30 cents per share on revenue of around $2 billion. And the whisper number is actually lower than the analyst expectations, which I think is kind of interesting. The whisper number is 28 cents per share. So that's what GameStop needs to beat. The other thing I'm going to be watching is what Ryan Cohen has done with this new investment policy where he's allowed to buy stocks with GameStop's cash. We may have this new portfolio that's part of the balance sheet at GameStop, or he may have just bought more treasuries, right? So we'll see exactly what ends up happening here. And I'm just watching my uploads. So should be like 3 minutes until earnings come out.
You kind of said it already, but like, what are your expectations when they release the earnings? And
I'm not very confident on the revenue number, um, because it, it wasn't that strong of a Christmas for hardware, right? Um, so I think revenue is kind of it could be a problem. I think revenue is going to be a problem going forward because, like I said, the console cycle is at a different part now, where people aren't necessarily buying tens of millions of PlayStation 5s anymore. A lot of people already have them. And then there's the secular problem that GameStop has with digital game downloads cannibalizing their sales. I think that's still a problem. So yeah, it's I don't know. I'm like cautiously optimistic as a GameStop shareholder. I'm still long the stock. I even own some options in it. I think it's an interesting. I want to point it out on the monthly chart. This is a rev strat to the upside. This is an actionable signal right now because we're above. See, if you look at this was December, January we traded inside of the December range. February we dropped below it only to come back within that range. And now this is a technically a 4 bar pattern. We went above $15.23 per share. That is a buy signal that is only valid for a few more days because this is the bar for March, right? just an interesting setup. People don't really look at monthly bar charts that often or quarterly charts. It's still inside quarter. It looks like GameStop has their numbers out, and it's a miss. It's a miss on everything. Good job, GameStop. Way to completely screw the pooch. Okay, let's see uh, if I can get the actual press release. But yeah, things are dropping pretty rapidly. Let me flip it over. You see that 1 minute chart?
Well, it's like what you
Woof.
said, right? They're dependent on like consoles being released, either new consoles or special edition consoles. Like, I feel like the Steelbook game kept them alive for a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here we go. Um, that's a miss. So it's a miss on the top line. It's a miss on the bottom line. I'm gonna just write a headline for the folks over at Shacknews. Q4 2024. So what we were expecting was earnings of 30 cents per share on $2 billion of revenue. What we got, earnings of 22 cents per share on 1.79.
Like you said, a miss.
That's not great.
That's a miss.
It's a miss on both the top and the bottom line. I will say it's good that they were profitable. They've had fourth quarters in the past where they weren't. So I would say that that is still somewhat. I'm not gonna say great news or anything. Not terrible news, I guess is what I would say. But the revenue story I think is problematic. And it speaks to what I was saying going into this year. Even I think they have a problem in front of them. Yep. Stock is down 15% at this point. And we're looking at see if I can get the press release so I can. Net income, cash and equivalents on marketable securities were 1.199 billion. So they still have cash. Let's see, adjusted EBIT, they were profitable for the full year. There you go. That actually, oh wait, I put the wrong. I always screw up fiscal years. Who's writing this? Donovan's writing this. Q4 2023. Let's see if I can find anything good in this. Oh, net sales were down. Cost of sales went down with them. SG&A was down. Asset impairments were down. Interest and other income, negative. Getting worse. Earnings per share increased from the prior year. I'm more interested in the statement of cash flows. Statement of cash flows. They made 9 million. They increased their cash by $9 million during the quarter, from 929.2 to 938.9. So they did not lose cash. From operating activities, they lost $11 million. From investing activities, they made 20.6. That's what I've been talking about on recent quarters. Their ownership of marketable securities is offsetting their business that loses money. They repaid some of the French term loans. Thing I'm curious. So they are profitable for the full year. I think that's probably a breakout. Um, yeah, not holding a conference call. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna break out the story that they're not holding a conference call. GameStop. Sorry, I'm helping people write headlines right now. GameStop. You got anyone in the chat asking us things, or what's going on?
Grass Cow E just says that it's crashing.
Yep, that is accurate. Let's see.
Xia Plus says, I have puts.
Good for you. Reports profit. I think that's a story. GameStop reports profits for full year 2023.
I mean, that's good, right? I mean, profit is good, especially with all this inflation and digital markets getting bigger.
No, I'm just saying, like, if you're short the stock, you either think it's overvalued, which you're probably right, or you think it's going to zero, which so far it hasn't. And not going bankrupt is a good part of that. The secret, kids, is to not go bankrupt.
The goal is to not lose all the money.
We got people with puts watching this. I don't know. We've seen some strange turnarounds the next day after GameStop earnings. So I'm not really sure what's reading it, but I will say the fundamentals are not good. The company is still very poorly run,
Hen9Y
and
asks, GME is profitable, so the ticker goes red. He's
yeah,
explaining the graph.
that's exactly Henny. We were talking about. There's expectations baked into stocks, and the expectation for GameStop was a profit of 30 cents per share. They only reported a profit of 22 cents per share. So that is considered disappointing. They were also expected to report revenue of 2 billion, and they only reported revenue of 1.78 billion. So it's a situation where they missed the expectations of both the top and the bottom line. Greg, I noticed that your quote on the bottom left is not updating for after hours. That's still the closing price.
There we go. I just had to refresh.
But yeah, there it is. Down 18% after hours. So yeah, things are pretty ugly over there. We still don't have the 10K where they disclose some other stuff, but I'm trying to see if I can find on the balance sheet what he did. It doesn't seem like he did anything that crazy with the money that he's been allowed to. That's kind of disappointing. I thought we were going to see something on the balance sheet. Yeah, they have marketable securities of $277 million. I think that might even be down from the last quarter. Let me go look. There we go. Third quarter results. Just looking at the balance sheet. Yeah, they actually have less marketable securities than they did in the previous quarter. They had 300.5 million dollars in marketable securities, and now they're sitting on 277.6. Some of these just might have matured, like their proceeds from the sales of marketable securities. They made $312 million off of selling marketable securities. And then they reinvested 326.8 million. Well, why are their marketable securities less than that on their balance sheet? To the internet. Curious what's going on. Let's see what the reaction is on the internet. I'm sure it's super, super normal. Major miss for GameStop, says Market Draft.
Blank Ink asks, "Do you
Absolutely.
think the stock bounces back by tomorrow's open?"
Who asked that? Blank Ink?
Yeah.
Can I show you the data that I'm reading on screen? Yeah. Greg, I don't know if this will work, but if I stop sharing a screen and then start,
Standing
would
by.
that work?
Standing by.
Here we go. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna do something here. I don't know how to do this. Stop streaming. Here we go. Okay. Now I have to share a different screen.
All right, let's see if it works. Here, let me bring this up just in case. Just in case you're not sure. Is that we're not supposed to? Is that what you want to share? That screen?
Yeah. Can they see it?
Yeah, it's just very small. I can make it bigger.
What if I shrink my window? Does that do anything?
Well, that's a little more focused, but like here, I have to
I'm
make
I'm
note.
I increased the font. Does that help? Yeah, that looks that's about as good as we can get it. Okay, so yeah, the highlights here. Net sales were 1.794 billion for the fourth quarter. Previous year was 2.226. So that's disappointing. SG&A was down from the prior year because they've been firing people. Net income was up from the prior year. Cash and marketable securities is sitting at 1.199 billion. I believe that's slightly up. They paid off a little bit of their debt that they owe to the French government. Net sales for full year 2023 were down. You know what? I'm actually going to include all of this in that source for the. So yeah, somebody get that full year story because I do think that's interesting. Let's see if there's anything else here. Yeah, just almost $500 million decrease in net sales year over year is not great. And they even had an additional week this year compared to the previous. Uh, Someone's asking if I think the share price could rebound. Yeah, I do. Grass Cows Eat, they have not released the DRS numbers as of yet. Those tend to be in the 10K, which I have not seen yet. Let me see if I can dig that up for you. Those tend to come out a little bit later. Yeah, we don't have the 10K yet. Shares are recovering a little bit. They're at 12.95 now. You also have a short week of trading. So people who bought the calls that expired this Friday are probably going to be out of luck. Yeah, the EPS was a miss. The 10K comes out tonight, this afternoon. It's just they take time because they're uploading it to the SEC Edgar servers and stuff. So I'm not sure when that will drop exactly, but when it does, we will let you know. So yeah, let's see if I can find anything else interesting here. You know, just earnings did increase year over year. That's good, and I think having a full year profit is pretty good for a company that everyone seems to think is struggling very mightily. It wasn't like some huge amount of gains, though. They turned a profit of like 6.7 million for the full year. But for a company that was hemorrhaging 300 million last year, 6.7 gain certainly sounds good by comparison. Their margins are still pretty low. Uh, and then, yeah, looking at cash and marketable securities, they now have less than $1 billion of proper cash, but they do have, if you combine the two, they have quite a bit of assets, and I think they're short-term treasuries. Um, Skazy, is that so? You have the 10K? Cool. Um, Let me see if I can find it. Because I haven't seen the 10K yet. SEC filings. There we go. I got it. Computer share. But yeah, people looking for the 10K. I'm gonna just drop it in chat. I'm not sure how this works, Greg, but if I flip to the 10K in this browser window, will it do it for you too?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so that's what we did. Can I make that go away? Whatever. So yeah, here's the 10K. Trying to remember where I go to find the DRS numbers. $203 stores in Canada, 365 stores in Australia, 39 stores in New Zealand, 314 in France, 69 in Germany, 264 in Italy. Which state has the most GameStops, Greg? What do you think?
Oh, geez, that's tough. I would say one of the bigger states, right? Like just by square
Mm-hmm.
footage of the state, right? So like Texas, probably. I'm gonna guess Texas.
You're right. You're right. 298 GameStops in Texas.
That's where
They're
their
also
headquarters are
headquartered
too.
there.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense.
They're headquartered in Grapevine. California, though, 262. Ohio, 137. That's a lot. There's too many GameStops in Ohio. Top of page 17. My man. Thank you for that. Okay, so top of page. I clicked.
Thank you,
Oh,
Skazies.
good man there. Uh, Page 17. The number went down?
You want number go up, not number go down. I guess if you're shorting it, you want to go down, but
It's 75.3. Let me see. Shacknews DRS. That's down. It is down. It's down by 0.1 million. 100,000 shares. Okay. So anyone at home that just wants to hear what they said here. Our Class A common stock is traded on the New York Stock Exchange under the symbol GME as of March 20th, 2024. There were 305.8732 million shares of our Class A common stock outstanding. Of those outstanding shares, approximately 230.6 million were held by Seed and Co. on behalf of the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, or approximately 75% of our outstanding shares, and approximately 75.3 million shares of our Class A common stock were held by registered shareholders with our transfer agent, ComputerShare, or approximately 25% of outstanding shares. Hmm. That's interesting. So I got a headline for what was it was as of March 20th, right? So we got the DRS numbers here. So, sorry, I'm helping people write stuff. Because yeah, you can read all about this on Shacknews.com. Real quick, the 192.7 million. Yeah, so they lost 192.7 million in adjusted EBIT in 2022, and they made 64.7 million in 2023. So that's good. Yeah, I agree. If they had a conference call and they could talk about um what they're doing, communicate with shareholders, be nice. Um yeah, I don't think they provide. Do they provide any forecast even in the 10K? Let's see.
Looks like they just did the bare minimum of what was required.
I don't understand. I think the most disappointing thing is that Ryan didn't really do anything with the money. The whole like investment policy thing, he didn't. Nothing happened. That I don't think it's anything. They're scared to talk because it's all negative. Yeah, sure. Um, Someone asked it if I could see it get above 13. It could get above 13 here in the next few minutes. Looking at it bottomed out at around $12.54. It's currently at 12.90. So it's not very far from 13. That could happen. Let's see. Store closings. Let's see if they mentioned about stores. Uh, as of February 3rd, we have a total of 4,169 stores across all segments. Here's the business strategy. I don't think it's changed very much, but GameStop is following a strategic plan to fully leverage its unique position and brand recognition in gaming through a new phase of transformation. Our strategic plan is designed to optimize our core business and achieve profitability. They did that. GameStop is actively focused on the below objectives. Establish omni-channel retail excellence. I guess they're still working on that. We aim to be the leading destination for games and entertainment products through our stores and e-commerce platforms. To accomplish this, we're taking steps to ensure we are a fast and convenient solution for our customers. This includes increased product availability across all channels, faster fulfillment through ship and store offerings, and a further improved customer service experience. During 2023, this is the topic of achieve profitability. During fiscal 2023, we continue to optimize our cost structure to align with our current and anticipated future needs. We will continue to focus on cost containment as we look to operate with increased efficiency. So that means maybe more layoffs or more store closings. And then third, leverage brand equity to support growth. GameStop has many strengths and assets, including a strong household brand recognition and a significant store network. We believe these efforts are important aspects of our continued business to enable long-term value creation for our shareholders. What do you think, Greg? Are you buying it?
When you lay off people in closed stores, number does go up, and it can appear that's how you be profitable, right? That's one of the ways you can do it.
Yeah, but
What happens when you
they
can't
need.
do that anymore?
Yeah, once you cut all your costs and your revenues are declining, I don't know.
You keep closing stores and laying off people, number you appear, and then like you can only do that so much before you can't do it anymore.
Looks like we have a shake up in the corporate suite. Uh, Report. Okay, so yeah, we got a we got we got a problem here, or maybe it's not, maybe it's a solution. Let's see. Uh, Departure of certain directors, officers, election of directors, compensation for the director. Uh, on March 25th, board of directors of the company promoted Daniel Moore, the current interim principal financial officer of the company, to the role of principal financial officer, effective as of yesterday. Mr. Moore will continue to serve in his role as the principal accounting officer of the company. So now he has two jobs. In connection with this appointment, the company and GameStop entered into a letter agreement with Mr. Moore yesterday, describing a certain terms of his employment, which supersedes all prior agreements. Okay, fine. The offer letter provides that Mr. Moore's annualized salary will be $160,000, and all equity rewards previously granted to Mr. Moore will continue to vest in accordance with the original terms. The foregoing description of the office letter is not complete. Whatever, just jargon. So yeah, the CFO is now the CFO, the interim CFO. They removed that. So that's something. Full year profitability. Let me see. Full year profitability was
6.7? Is that what?
no.
Sorry, it's hard to
That
read.
was net income.
Okay.
Adjusted earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization was 64.7 million. So it's just depending on what you're looking at. Grass cows eat. So there's multiple ways to report numbers, but the thing that Wall Street tends to pay attention to the most is adjusted EBITDA. So that's the number when you back out some things. But yes, the net income for the full year was $6.7 million, and that's compared to a loss the previous year of $313 million.
Jesus.
So we can play my favorite game. How long does GameStop have before it dies? Would you like to play that game, Greg?
Yeah, definitely a few years. Like I really thought that was it 2019 or 2018 before the craziness happened with the stock. I really thought they were done, but that whole community saved them essentially. And like
Mm-hmm.
now they've limped on ever since, but like as you can see, like I think it's only I mean, I think they got a few years left, you know. They're releasing consoles without disk drives. Granted, it's optional, but like it's only going to get more streamlined as we move forward.
I think that their big challenge is to turn GameStop into a destination kind of a store more than it is. Like there has to be stuff to do in there that's interesting. Or like moms could leave their kids there while they're at the mall or something. Yeah, we have people saying a very long time. Someone said 20 years. Someone said 5 years. I can tell you that if you don't lose money, you can keep going for quite a long time.
Yeah. In
So
certain cases, if you lose money, you can keep going forward.
last year, let's just look at last year. Last year they lost $300 million, right? If they kept at that pace, they would only live for it. Let's say that this year was the same. There would only be 2 more years of cash left on their balance sheet. Whereas now, they're profitable. They could continue on. Now the question is, um, 2024. They're up because of cost cutting. No question about it.
Yeah.
That's yeah. You look at just the SG&A expense. It was 1.6 billion last year, down to 1.3 billion this year. So yeah, that's SG&A, selling general and administrative costs. They slashed that. They've been doing that for years. Um, but yeah, this is the concern I have is about revenue. Yeah, I'm not sure what they're doing, Skazy. That's the thing. I'll be honest with you, as a shareholder, that's the thing I'm most disappointed in, is that you have $1 billion sitting there and it's just sitting there. or whatever, 900 some million dollars in cash. Um, I thought Ryan was going to be way more aggressive and actually do something. Uh, if you look at the statement of cash flows, they made 312 million in cash off of the maturities. They reinvested 326 million, but like he could have done something way crazier. So I guess um
Maybe they're waiting on like a new announcement on the back end for them so they can buy as many consoles as possible, because the one thing they don't like is getting short-sighted on console releases.
you're talking
Because
about inventory management.
yeah, because like I mean like the PlayStation, the overhead on they don't make much on the PlayStations, right? They make like what, $50, like, but it gets people
Maybe.
in the store, and that's a
And
big thing.
but like you have to go back to 2020, right, Greg, where
Mhm.
you had to pay a pretty hefty premium to get a pre-order, right? Because they
Right.
were only selling them in bundles, right?
Yep.
So it's like, yo, you want a PS5? Well, here's COD, you don't want it. Here's Madden, you don't want it. Here's I don't know
Here's 4
what other game.
controllers that you don't need.
Yeah. So they were getting higher average. They increased the average receipt at their store that holiday, and it's kind of been a problem since. Because I would say that the COVID inventory problems, it helped GameStop in 21.
Mhm.
By 2022, everyone who wanted a PlayStation, who could afford one, had one. Obviously, the Xbox is selling poorly. They do sell used Steam Decks at GameStop now.
Yeah.
So they have other stuff going on there. But to your point about just where we are in the video game cycle, yeah, I think that's a huge problem they face. Um, I'm just disappointed that they weren't. I thought they were going to be more creative with their balance sheet. And the other thing is, anyone who was talking about a buyback yesterday, yeah, that ain't happening. That did not happen.
They're definitely
Buyback.
playing it safe. I mean, they did like lose, how much revenue did they lose on the NFT marketplace they launched a few years ago and then shut down?
You shouldn't use the word. You shouldn't use the word lose and revenue, because
Excuse
revenue is
me.
sales, not earnings.
How much did they invest
They
into that
invested almost
marketplace?
$500 million
There
in
you
it,
go. So yeah.
and that is okay. The stock just jumped above 13. Um, yeah, I don't know. Do we want to flip back to the stock chart?
Here, let me make sure to just let you do that
I'm
on
gonna.
another screen in case anything pops up.
Okay,
So you're clear now. Go ahead.
give me a second. Share. Yep, there we go.
Okay, cool. You're back on.
And we're back. I'm back.
I really think a lot of their success will be tied to how fast these gaming companies like Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo can get a new console to people's hands. But we've talked about this before. Like a new Switch, probably not this year, right? But like as a business, they probably are already in talks when they do get it, right? Like on the back end, they're already probably talking about it, you know, right? Because they're a
Hmm.
huge part of that industry, right? Like when you make a console, GameStop's going to want a few million. You know, Walmart's going to want a few million. You know, right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And that's what Nintendo
Uh,
makes money off that. So like regardless, you know, they make their money, you know, at wholesale or whatever, and they buy 1.3 million units or whatever. Probably a lot more on the
yeah,
Switch,
but
honestly.
they have a credit facility that they haven't tapped yet, Greg. I think it's like $500 million for specifically what you're talking about.
Right.
If they need to make a large inventory purchase, they can. Uh, but just based on what you were just saying, I'm curious how much inventory they have on hand right now. They're sitting on $632.5 million of inventory. The problem there, they don't break it out. That's hardware, that's software, that's Funko Pops, that's plushies, that's Mario
Yeah,
t-shirts. You know what I
stickers,
mean?
collector items, a bunch of
Yeah.
everything
So
is
we don't
kind of
know
going on.
exactly what the mix of their inventory is, but they do have less inventory on hand than they did in the previous year in the fourth quarter. The stock is recovering pretty rapidly here, folks. I don't know if you're seeing it on the stream. It does not surprise me. I thought it was a bit of an overreaction to sell it as hard as they did. Um, but I'm not surprised to see it back to where it is either. So yeah, I guess the CFO story. We could write that.
But their in-minute CFO becomes the CEO, basically, or CFO, excuse me.
I mean, it's been like a revolving door, being a GameStop executive
Yeah, it's
for
more
like I
turnover
don't
than
know,
the stores themselves.
for real. So yeah, there's been a lot of turnover uh, in the C-suite. I would say that anyone who greenlit the, and maybe this is Ryan too, but anyone who greenlit the NFT marketplace probably shouldn't have a job anymore.
Yep.
I think that was a tremendous waste of money.
Do they don't report like they don't report theft in the earnings? Do like theft loss? Do they report that?
No.
Okay, because I do know like in our GameStop and several other ones around town that they have a big problem with theft from employees because they treat them so poorly, so they steal the entire time they get
Okay,
there.
so they do mention theft in their 10K.
Interesting.
Although some level of inventory shrinkage is an unavoidable cost of doing business, higher rates of inventory shrinkage or increased security or other costs to combat inventory theft could adversely impact our results of operations and financial condition. There can be no assurance that we will be successful in our efforts to contain or reduce inventory shrinkage. And to your point, Greg, I talk to my GameStops when I go there. Like I talk to my general managers and stuff when I go to those stores. And there's one in Canton that it gets robbed once a week. Like you could set your watch to it. There's one that gets robbed like once a quarter, and then there's one that never gets robbed. So it just really depends what part of town you're in. But you're
Yeah.
right, GameStop gets robbed a lot, but they also have insurance. So they're able to cover a lot of that. But yeah, I feel bad for the people working back there, man. Like they get just, can you imagine having a gun put in your face at a game, like you work at GameStop for however whatever wages they're even paying, whatever they're paying you, it's not worth it taking a bullet for Ryan Cohen.
No.
Tell you that much.
No. I've seen the short
Uh,
videos of people getting like they film it now because it's like they're not gonna die, so the store can save a few $1,000.
and they're just like, here, take whatever. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's my advice to anyone who's getting robbed and you by at gunpoint or at knife point is like, just give them what they want. It doesn't matter. It's whatever it is. It's not worth as much as your death. And I think that's absolutely the case when you're working at GameStop.
It's not worth the pizza party they'll throw you if you prevent the robbery. So,
Mm-hmm.
but no, the turnover at our game. I know it varies location, area to area, but the turnover at our GameStop is horrendous. Like every 2 months, there's a completely new staff there. Well, like, and I say
So on
staff
the
because it's a one-man store usually, Monday through
so
Thursday.
on this bar chart, did notice an inside 15, so it didn't break below that first sell-off low, and then it got above 12.99, and now we have an inside and up signal for the next 15 minutes. So yeah, that's going on. Yeah, the inside oneer and down, inside oneer and up. So yeah, people are trading this thing in after hours, or robots are trading it in after hours. 16 million shares have traded so far today. They just disclosed they have somewhere around 305 million total shares. Let's see. What else? Should we write about the CFO news? Is that news? Does anyone care? I think it's strange that they're not even calling him a CFO. Let's see. GameStop earnings reaction is in real time, so thanks for tuning in, everyone. Yeah, I'm trying to see what. He's not even a CFO. Like, they don't have that title, I guess. The news is that GameStop missed on the top and the bottom line, but they also are promoting Daniel Moore, who served as the interim principal finance officer. He is now just being called the principal finance officer. So like that's it. Yeah, it's not nothing that crazy, right? Like he was already doing this job. Now it's just more official that he's doing the job. I'm curious what the super level-headed people of Twitter are saying about GameStop. Oh, you know what? There is something in the 10K about investing. Cash used in investment activities during 2023 was primarily due to purchases of marketable securities, ongoing technological investments, that's got to be the website and app, and store related capital expenditures, partially offset by proceeds from the sale and maturities of marketable securities. The proceeds from the sale of the property in our European segment. They still mention that they have $300 million of a repurchase authorization, and that repurchase authorization has no expiration date. So the board before Ryan Cohen, before Deep F and Value, they approved a buyback that never happened. Um, and they said that they, or no, some of it happened. As of February 3rd, they have $101 million remaining in that repurchase authorization. And they haven't done it. But no new buyback. Yeah, I see that too. Paragon Lee, but they don't break out anything. It just says marketable securities. There that implies interest bearing assets, right? Like bonds, treasury bills, something that you could sell pretty easily is a lot of liquidity in it. I was thinking we were gonna just no. Brohan89, there is no conference call. All you got is me drinking my green tea talking about the stock. I'm sorry. But I'm more than happy to answer questions about the quarter because I actually read it and Ryan Cohen is too busy. Too busy to talk to shareholders about what's going on in his company. Nope. I was really hoping that he put a. I was hoping that dude bought a bunch of Nvidia calls. Wouldn't that be a legendary turnaround? Oh, how'd you turn around GameStop? Oh, I just bought a bunch of Nvidia call options. That would have been fun. But no. Sadly, that's not what we got here. I don't know if we can call this a Chad Cohen move, man. I don't think there's much. It's not a whole lot of Chad to this man. So what's the final say? Should we report on the CFO being promoted? Or no? Sure. Squire says sure. To the headlines. Let me figure out what I want right for that. Daniel Moore promoted to
They've come a long way since Funko Land.
Mm. Principal Finance Officer is the title. Seems like a CFO, right? I'm just dropping in headlines for the folks over at Shacknews. Yeah, I think full year profit, pretty good headline there. We'll have to see how people respond to this. I'm sure analysts are going to pick it apart for everything that's going wrong.
Also, I don't think you mentioned they're sitting on a lot of investment cash. Like, what do you think they should spend it on? Like, they obviously didn't spend it, right? Like, what do you think they're waiting for?
Okay, like I'm going to put on the I'm now running GameStop hat,
Yeah.
okay? So I'm running GameStop. I have $1 billion of cash. And full disclosure, I may own some of these stocks I'm about to mention. I do own shares of this first one I'm going to mention. What I would do is create a Russian nesting doll of short squeezes. So, what's one of the most shorted stocks in the universe right now? You have any idea? Like, what's one of the highest short interests in the stock market right now?
I have no clue.
No clue. Uh, it is iRobot. iRobot has a 45.75% short interest. It was a stock that was about to be acquired by Amazon, and then the FTC broke up the deal. So the stock crashed from like 50. It's below $8 now. So why do I bring up iRobot? Well, iRobot has a market cap of $222 million. Ryan could cause a short squeeze by just doing a hostile takeover of iRobot. And then they're going to have to cover the iRobot, which will make the shares go up, which will increase the cash holdings and the investment value at GameStop, right? Because then, iRobot's worth way more than it was yesterday or 2 days ago, and everyone's having to cover. So I think like a Russian nesting doll of short squeezes. That's one thing I would do. Other thing, I would acquire something. Like you have this money, maybe you can get into a different business that's less crappy. Or maybe you don't have to buy the whole company, but maybe you could take stakes in some companies to create strategic alliances. One thought that I had was Corsair, which is another. I don't know what the short interest is at right now. Let me look that up. Um, Corsair is at, the short interest isn't there. It used to be. But I think Corsair makes interesting products, right? They make the Elgato stuff, um, Origin PC, right? And then all their cases, all their RAM. Like if you wanted to get into the PC space, Corsair wouldn't be a bad partner. Um, but yeah, I would just go around causing short squeezes.
What about Hasbro? Because I know they're struggling right now. They could use a partner for exclusivity and like deals and toys because they sell a lot of toys now at GameStop.
They do, and they sell them online too. So let's see. Hasbro is a pretty large company, Greg. It's bigger than GameStop. They couldn't afford to do
Yeah,
that.
for how much
But to your
longer?
point, they could do like an investment in it and have like a strategic alliance kind of thing. The other problem with Hasbro, they have a ton of debt.
They do. They're in big trouble.
Uh, they're not doing well at all. So I would avoid that stock in general. But I think to your making a broader point out of what you said, like I think having a partnership with a toy company would be smart. Kids don't want toys, says Squires.
Well,
I
it's true.
think kids want toys up until like age 3. It used to be like until age 10. Now it's like 3. But there's still toys out there. Tom's the Tank Engine's still making money. What are they called? There's called like Squishimals or something dumb like that. Do you know what I'm talking about? They come in
Squibbies.
eggs. I
Yeah,
don't know. This is some stupid toy that comes in an egg and it
but
makes noise.
they're for like kids under 10. So like the Hasbro has now targeted adults like me. I'm the target audience now. They want like
Well,
older
like stuff
millennials.
like HasLab, I think is definitely targeting us. But you know, they had the Barbie movie, and that's Jesus Christ.
I think Mattel owns that though, not Hasbro.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, I confused the two.
No, it's fine. There's like two. There, yeah,
They're like the only two left.
yeah. But like they
It's gonna
have,
be like gaming websites in a few years. It's like, oh, you got your IGN over here, you got your Shacknews over there, and that's about all we got now.
but like they like it's. I have a friend who owns a small. He owns 3 locations for a local gaming store, and he specializes in retro games. But he tells me all the time that the goal is to get just people into the store. I know, GameStop has an online component as well, but like getting people to your store to buy something that has a small overhead, right, small revenue generation. They might get a controller, they might get an action figure, they might get a Funko Pop, right? But you have to get them into the store. How do you do that, right? Like you do that by having consoles readily available for people to buy, or having store exclusives. Like they have the steelbooks for pre-orders that you get that gets people into the store. Having more exclusives that only GameStop carries in store would get people more foot traffic into their locations, therefore, and number go up, hopefully.
Foot traffic is an interesting metric in retail because, like, just because you get foot traffic doesn't mean that people are buying anything, right?
True.
Um, the Apple Store is a really good example of that. For a long time, people were just going to the Apple Store. They weren't buying anything. The Tesla stores are like that too. Um, they're like showrooms now, though. Yeah, I think there's not enough information being given to us to really understand if GameStop can turn it around. All we have to look at are these financial results, and they're better than they were a year ago. Better than they were 2 years ago.
Yeah, but how hard was the bar to raise? That's the question, I guess, right? Was it a difficult task to?
I don't know, man. I haven't turned a profit at Shacknews ever,
I was
so
gonna say.
like, I am not one to judge, man. It's fucking hard. It's hard to take a company that's struggling and turn a profit while trying to grow it, right? While trying to grow a brand, while trying to like maintain a team. I don't think Ryan's doing all of that, but I think it's hard. It takes time. I think they deserve some credit for actually turning a profit. Like 4 years ago, if I told you that GameStop was going to turn a full year profit, you wouldn't have believed me. But here we are. But it all comes down to expectations, man. The expectations were too high going into this quarter, is really what the market is showing. Even analyst expectations were too high. And I think to your point, this year is going to be harder for all video game companies.
Oh, just across the board, and the inflation is brutal. We're noticing it every week when we go grocery shopping. I can't imagine what tech companies are dealing with. Like when food is like increased by like 30%, 35, 40%.
I think it's logistics expense is the number one concern for companies like GameStop, like the cost of getting their products to the right places. That's going to be a thing. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Some other things I would do if you made me in charge of GameStop. I kind of glossed over this, but like the stores need to become a destination. There has to be a reason to go there. I don't know if it's something as simple as like turn it into a place where you could host local esport events. And I know most GameStops are super small, so you may have a problem with just literally not having enough room. But put in like a GameCube, put in Smash Melee, Have like a community tournament. Hey, you can win a $50 gift card. You know what I mean? So it's like it's not some massive, 128 person tournament or something, but like maybe like 12, 16 people play a Smash tournament for $50 gift card. Um Give people reasons to want to come into your store. I will say that I think they've done a good job with the layout in their stores. I don't know if you've noticed, but like the the impulse buy stuff is all very visible even as you walk by the store. And I think that's the point about a lot of these stores is like getting people to do the impulse buy of like a Kirby plushie or like a T-shirt or something. I think that's the future of GameStop is embracing what they acquired with ThinkGeek, and then immediately ruined. But like, I still think ThinkGeek was great for a while there
Yeah.
before GameStop acquired them. And I feel like they lost a lot of the people who were there. But if they could get back to making stuff like that and having exclusives in their stores, I think that would help. Um, but yeah, like at the end of the day, this used to be a used video game retailer, and they're just not anymore. They don't even disclose used revenue anymore.
I
So that's
thought
pretty
on their
wild.
business plan they had like a concept of like having it be like a lounge store where you come in and watch TV and like play games. And I guess
Yep.
they just
There's
abandoned that idea.
no, they didn't. They actually made a store in Italy uh look like that. Like they actually shipped something like that. I don't know. It was, yeah. So I don't think they've expanded it. I think that the problem in the United States specifically is there are too many GameStop stores. So I don't think they could roll out like a national redesign of the store. I think they have to shut down non-performing stores first, if that makes sense.
No, it does. I know for a fact that the one out here is a they call it $1 million store, right? So it generates $1 million a year, right? Is that the correct terminology?
I don't know.
Something
I
like
don't
that.
in a year. That seems like not that much,
I mean,
but I
based on the
guess
area, right? Like my area is really small. We're a population of about 18,000.
yeah. Um, yeah, I guess that is a decent amount. I'm not sure how much the stores in Ohio make.
Somebody has that number somewhere, right? And so they make that executive decision to keep it open or closed. So
I've heard that that's not the number one decision. That the actual problem is more about lease accounting. So like how much does it cost for us to break the lease versus keeping the store open kind of thing? Because they don't own a lot of the real estate. They're just leasing it. So some non-performing stores stay alive because the lease agreement is too expensive for them to break.
how
You know what I
much?
mean?
Yeah, it's like is a 5 year lease, 10 year lease, 15 year lease. It seems.
In some cases, something like that, yeah.
Well,
There's
I
no
guess.
way that the one in Canton, the one near what used to be called Canton Center Mall, that one should not be open. Like I feel for the people who work there. It's like dangerous to work there.
I mean, we have one in the mall. It's about 60 miles away in Santa Rosa, Coddington Mall, and that mall is just empty. Like half the
Hmm.
stores are just closed. So I would imagine the people who own these properties are hurting really bad, unless like they paid it off 30 years ago when malls like were huge, and now they just have to pay tax. But even property taxes on something that size has got to be huge.
Hmm. Yeah, commercial real estate's in a really tough space, just overall. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Anyone in chat have any other questions about the report? You heard it here first. Full year profitability.
Here to hear it,
Let me
Shacknews here first, folks.
profitable. I'm looking at people's reactions online. First profitable year since 2017. That's wild. Awesome. Well, appreciate you tuning in, folks. Thanks, Greg, for streaming.
No worries.
Uh, Before we go, I just want to show people the long-term chart of this stock, just so we have a frame of reference of where we are, where things have been, where things are going. That was the short squeeze there in the center of that chart. And yeah, will we ever get back to 120 per share? Probably not. Are we headed to $3 a share? Maybe. Now we need a TJ versus Denny's Street Fighter 6 stream. I don't think that's happening next, but that's cool.
Only time will tell.
I enjoy watching them play Street Fighter 6. Sometimes I'll jump in there and spam Blanca moves because that's my main. That's my main man, Blanca. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I think there's 3 by tomorrow. I'm buying a Lambo. I guess you have some put options. Yeah, I don't know. Anyone who's trading options in this stock, just important to note that Friday the market's closed. So if you have a trade on either side, really, and you have an expiry of this Friday, you're probably going to want to sell that first thing in the morning before the premium decays and the time premium decays. None of the options I own are expiring this week. I have a. Does Ryan normally tweet after earnings? I would say Ryan never normally tweets. His tweets are never normal. He's a weird dude. Let's see what his most recent tweet was. Most recent tweet was about Q-tips. He said, "I've been using these wrong this whole time. Where do I insert them? Because Q-tips has a warning on it telling you not to insert the cotton swab in your ear canal." So that was Ryan's last tweet. That was 14 days ago. Before that, he tweeted about corruption. Before that, he tweeted. This was the one that I thought was pretty funny. On March 5th, he said, "Looking for strong engineers with cloud, Java, and web experience. Email tateam@gamestop.com. I will be working personally with the top candidates." So he agrees that their website sucks. Well, options, they still expire Friday. You just can't trade them. But yeah, you have one less day is my point for weekly options. So you got to get out of them pretty quick. You got to be quick like a bunny. But yeah, GameStop's had a wild ride. The ride continues, and it's that is ugly. That's a big outside bar right there. But we'll have to see what happens tomorrow. Yep. Well, congratulations to anyone who did make a profit. You know what? I'm not going to congratulate you guys yet. It's like planning a parade route before you win the Super Bowl. You don't do that. So tomorrow, I hope everything goes well for you folks. You're able to make some money. And yeah, if you're a GameStop shareholder, you shouldn't be too disappointed in what they reported here. They're still struggling, but they are profitable. And if you're a bear who thinks that this company is going to zero, this is bad news for you because they're not. They're making money, and the longer that they make money, the less likely this is to go to zero. But my main takeaway, kind of disappointed that we didn't see a more unhinged Ryan Cohen acting with the balance sheet. I would have wanted to see more aggressive balance sheet activity, and what we got was pretty boring. So yeah, step your game up, Ryan. Cause some cascading short squeezes. Just be the crazy man that I know you are. But yeah, how lame is this? I have to do a conference call after GameStop earnings because their CEO won't. You know what I mean, Greg?
He's just so busy counting all that uninvested money they're sitting on.
He's just too busy sitting on $1 billion
He's
to
just
do
counting
anything.
it.
Yeah. But hey, everyone, thanks for tuning in. If you like this sort of stuff, give us a follow here. We're also on YouTube at those channels. We're on, we have a Discord where we talk about stocks. You can join us and chat about stocks, video games, whatever else is going on in the news. We obviously talk about GameStop over there. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for streaming, Greg.
No worries.
All right. Bye, everybody.